Welcome, everybody, to yet another episode of Memory Card Nerd Initiative's Retro and Nostalgia Video Game Conversation Show. As always, I'm your host, Cody Clicks. I got a special guest for you guys today. You'll probably find him in his basement 3D printing. He's the biggest Iron Man fan, maybe in the world. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right there. We've got Derek from Paperweight Entertainment. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. Basement 3D printing, Iron Man. You got it all. You hit them all. Yeah.
Nice, dude. I enjoyed hanging out with you in Chicago, C2E2 earlier this year. Had a great time hanging out with you, and I found out that you were into video games.
I am.
So I
am indeed.
I knew I had to have you on Memory Card to just chat about some video games. And the place that I want to start, I gotta start where it all started. What was your first video game console, man?
So my first video game console, I was born in '85, and so the first one that I played was, even though we had an Atari 2600 in the house,
okay.
First one I played was the NES. So the very first game I played was Duck Hunt on NES.
Nice.
And
with the zapper?
The little dog laughing at me the whole time. So I'm old enough to say that I played Donkey Kong, Mario, all of that on that original NES.
And I'm sorry. So, did you say how old you were, like when you got the NES?
I believe I was around 5. So we're looking at like 1990, 91, somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly, but I do know it was right around that age because we moved like right before that, and so I remember it was in the new house that we got the NES. Nice. And the way we got the NES was hilarious. But anyway, we'll go.
No,
on.
dude, I would love to hear it, man. That was going to be my next follow-up question is how did you end up with the thing?
So my dad liked video games too. And it turned out he always knew a guy when you couldn't get it like a console. Like he bought our first PlayStation 2 on out of like the back of somebody's trunk, like at his work.
Nice.
When you couldn't buy them in stores. And so I remember he loaded me up into the car and we just drove off into the country to some random person's house. And he just bought an NES off of some random dude that he knew. And so I just remember getting in the car like, where are we going? Don't worry about it. We're going somewhere. And we went home with an NES with like Duck Hunt, Mario, all of these games. It was a blast.
That is so crazy to me because I mean, before like the internet was really rocking and rolling, your dad was finding these. Maybe you don't know, you were so young. Was this like some guy from work, or like where do you find?
I never asked him. I have no idea, and I don't even know if anybody would know now, like where that came from. I'm guessing it was somebody. He knew everybody. He was one of those guys that just knows everybody. So I'm sure that he put the feelers out there. Hey, we want to get one of these. Can't buy it in the store. Or maybe somebody just told him because they knew he liked video games. I don't know. But either way, he knew a guy. And so we ended up with a game console.
So let me ask you this. So you said your dad was a fan. Was it his console? Or was it like, this is for Derek. This is so Derek can play some games.
So I think that he justified it to my mother by saying it was his. But it was in my room. So it was definitely mine. It was definitely mine.
Nice. So did you have any like siblings you had to like fight over the thing for, or was it like
no, thankfully I had it was just me and my older sister, and she didn't play a lot of games. When we got a little bit older with like the Sega Genesis, we'd play Sonic together. We played Sonic 2, which at least we could play 2-player, but she was never a real gamer. So I never had to fight with her about anything. If we played something, she'd play a 2-player game every now and again, but for the most part it was just me.
Nice, dude. More NES for you, man, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you said your dad was a gamer, and you mentioned you had an Atari 2600.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have do you have any like memories associated with the Atari, or is like one of those things, as soon as you got the NES, you guys just threw that thing out?
Yeah, like it was one of those things that I don't remember even. I know that it was there because I remember finding it in the attic years later. Right, so I know that he had one, but I don't ever remember playing it. I'm sure that I did. I'm sure he sat me down with the little, because it was the one with like the spinner ball, or the spinner, not the joystick.
Okay.
Like the dial, I think it was called. And so I remember I have a vague memory that maybe we played it once or twice, but for the most part it was just the NES. I just know that it existed in the house.
Nice, dude. So I gotta ask you, right? Because the NES. So I've never owned an NES myself. I'm a young guy. I just turned 25. So,
Hmm.
but I always find it, so fascinating, hearing about like, the people that had an NES like when it was near new, right?
Hmm.
So what are some of the games that really stuck out to you on like the NES specifically?
Oh gosh. All right. So of course there's the ones that everybody remembers. You got Mario and Duck Hunt, but the ones that I loved playing were some of the tie-in games. Like I had
Okay.
Jurassic Park on NES. I had the Ninja Turtles game on NES, the
The,
notoriously
the
difficult
really
Ninja
hard
Turtle
one.
game. Oh
Yeah.
my god, such a still to this day, like on the NES Classic, I still can't beat it.
Right.
It's almost impossible. But those were a lot of fun. And then like Ninja Gaiden, the original Ninja Gaiden, again, really difficult game. But those were the ones that really stuck out. Like I said, the Mario ones that everybody remembers, and then Donkey Kong Jr. was a really random one. I don't know if anybody is old enough to remember Donkey Kong Jr. watching this. Uh, it was a very strange kind of platformer type of game that was a lot of fun, but it was not the big hit that Donkey Kong or Mario was.
Right. Right. Nice, dude. So okay, so very much like what was popular at the time. I'm
Yeah.
curious. Did you play any like, I don't know if you would consider them like deep cuts, but like were you into like JRPGs, and like what were like some of the genres that you mostly stayed on for
No,
NES?
so like when I was a kid, I never had any kind of exposure to that. I didn't start
Yeah,
on anything like that until maybe PlayStation 1. And that's when I started going back and like I would play Zelda. I remember playing Zelda 2
gotcha.
specifically, which was the one that was on the side scroller. It's
Right,
not great. But I remember playing Zelda 2. And so like I didn't play Final Fantasy until Final Fantasy 7. I didn't play any of those other ones. I just had no exposure to it. The only thing that I knew, like as far as I was concerned, Nintendo was just there for Mario and Ninja Turtles. Like
gotcha,
I didn't understand that there were all these different genres. And it wasn't until much later on that I realized, oh, there's so much more to this. And I went back and
gotcha.
checked out some of the other things.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, so knowing like where you are now and like all the fandoms you're associated with, it makes total sense that like the tie-in games would maybe
Hmm.
appeal to you more. So yeah, that's really cool. So after the NES though, what was like the next console you had? Did
So
you did
yeah,
you stay like Nintendo, or did you switch to like Sega or?
no, surprisingly enough, I've owned every Nintendo console except for the Wii U. I didn't buy a Wii U, and
Gotcha. I mean, who did? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
nobody bought the poor Wii U. They tried, but the so we went from NES, and then I keep talking about my dad. He liked games. He liked to see what the next big thing was. And
Okay,
so
so he was
while
like
Super
bleeding edge
Nintendo,
kind of guy. He like
yeah,
always
while
wanted what
Super
was the new.
Nintendo was really cool, Sega Genesis came out right around that same time, and it was supposed to be this big thing. It was faster, it was sleeker. You had Sonic instead of the slow Mario type of deal. And so we went from NES to Sega Genesis, and my God, the graphics on the Sega Genesis were such a jump forward compared to the NES. It was crazy because I remember we even bought. I talked about playing the Jurassic Park tie-in game on NES. We bought the Jurassic Park tie-in game on Sega Genesis. Thousand
Hmm.
percent better, just a much better game overall. And so yeah, the as much as I love the NES and my roots are in Nintendo, and I went back and got a Super Nintendo later on in life to play a lot of those games. Uh, the Genesis
Right.
really was the one that jump started me forward out of, oh, this is just for Mario, into no, there are other games I could play, and with much more graphical capabilities. It sounds really weird talking about updated graphic capabilities on something as far back as the Genesis, but you got to realize the leap from NES to Sega. I mean, that was a huge leap in technology.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's the classic like the marketing, right? They say
Hmm.
Sega does what Nintendo don't, right?
Right.
So it sounds like your dad was really into like, gotcha. Yeah, dude. That's cool. Um so okay. So you mentioned Zelda. I have it here that maybe Zelda, one of the Zeldas, is your favorite game of all time, and I was wondering if you could, just tell me a little bit about your favorite video game of all time.
Yeah. So Ocarina of Time, like a lot of people my age, is hands down my favorite game. I really loved that game. It was the first time that it was 3D with the N64. I was the right age when it came out. I was in Oh gosh, let me think. I was right about in middle school, or just I don't remember exactly how old I was when it came out. But either way, it was the perfect time. I was like sixth grade maybe, and the story was incredible. It was the first game that I really sat down and thought, all right, I'm going to play through this entire thing. No matter how hard it is, no matter how many times I fail, I'm going to play through this for sure. Because, before that, you play a game, whether you beat it or not, you were a kid, you just want to play it. You don't care about beating it necessarily. But Ocarina of Time, I wanted to beat Ganon. I wanted to go in. I wanted to save the princess and do all of that. And it really made me fall in love with Zelda to the point where I went back and started playing the other games. Because like I said, I didn't play the first one. I didn't start until the second one. And it kickstarted a love for that entire franchise that is still around to this day, even though I still have not gotten to play either Breath of the Wild or Tears of a Kingdom yet, which is a sad shame. I just don't have the time right now to play it.
Gotcha. I mean, I was just about to ask you, as someone like a super fan of the franchise, I mean, so Zelda has never been that touchstone for me, right? I think my first Zelda was probably like Spirit Tracks or something on the DS. You know what I mean? Like, never really got into the Zelda franchise, but recently I've been loving Tears. So I was curious if you had made the jump to the Tears, but
yeah, as much as I want to, like I really do desperately want to, but I've got so much going on right now that I know if I get into that game, I'm going to kind of lose myself in it, and I just can't. I've got too many things happening. One day, very soon, I'm going to have a little bit of time. I'm going to pick it up, and I'll just blow through both of those in like a couple of weeks, and just come out looking like my beard will be even more disheveled than it already is. Just come out looking like a homeless person.
Nah, dude. I mean, I'm looking forward to maybe hearing your thoughts, like once you get there, as a huge fan of the franchise. Because as someone who's never been super into Zelda, it's mind blowing what they're doing in Tears. I actually I didn't play Breath of the Wild. I just jumped into Tears. I was like,
oh really?
Yeah. I was like, you know what? I'm looking at all these clips, like all the machines that people are building and stuff like that. I mean, I just had to jump in. So I'm having a great time. So Ocarina of Time was your favorite. I was wondering, so a lot of the Zelda fans, it's either maybe Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask that is like everybody's number 1 and 2. So I was wondering maybe what your thoughts are on Majora's Mask, if you felt kind of similar.
So yeah, you fall into there's a couple of camps. You either love one and hate the other, or like them both. I fall into the camp that nobody falls into. I love Ocarina of Time, hate Majora's Mask. I would rather play almost any other game. They tried something new with Majora's Mask, and they took a lot of bold swings, and there's a lot to like about the game, but it just doesn't feel like a Zelda game with the timer and the clock and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And so for me, Majora's Mask is the one that I was like, they took a swing. It didn't hit for me. I'll wait until, Wind Waker, which was incredible.
Right. Yeah, Wind Waker, from like the outside looking in, Wind Waker was always the one that was kind of the most appealing to me, and I think the art style has a lot to do with that. I think that art style is beautiful even today, you know what I mean? So
yeah, it really is. And what's funny is I remember when that came out, a lot of people that had been playing for a long time didn't want to play it because they thought it looked too cartoonish, because they switched to their cell shading, and it was young Link again, and everybody thought, I don't know if I want to give that a shot. But then when they finally did, they realized, this is one of the best Zelda games ever made. Like, it's top tier Zelda game. Right. It's excellent.
Yeah, dude. I always appreciate like, I don't know, like changing a franchise's art style is like obviously super out of left field sometimes. Sometimes the fans, like you mentioned, are not a big fans of it. But I think cell shading always gonna hold up, dude. I think it looks beautiful. All right, so you mentioned we talked a lot about Zelda here. Obviously, a big Zelda fan. What are some other video game franchises that you love? I see some listed here, but yeah, I just love to.
So after Zelda, the ones that I really got into were I loved the first few Assassin's Creed games. Like I really dived deep into Assassin's Creed. I didn't. After the third game, I kind of fell off because I didn't like the pirate ship sailing stuff. It wasn't my cup of tea, and so I got through Black Flag, which is a lot of people's favorite is Black Flag, but that was one of my least favorite ones because I didn't like the combat and everything. It's a good game. Don't get me wrong; it's still a lot of fun, but the ships didn't speak to me. But I loved Assassin's Creed. I fell off of it again after 4, so I have no idea what's going on with it right now. I like the story.
Oh,
of it.
gotcha. Yep.
And Uncharted. My gosh, man! Uncharted's the reason why I switched to PlayStation over Xbox. Because I had an Xbox for a while, because Xbox was the new thing, and I had a PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 2's had this really bad defect where it would stop reading games after a while. And
Classic.
it would just give it. Man,
I forgot what people called it, like not the yellow light of death, the red ring of death, or whatever. But
yeah, I don't remember what they called it, but I remember when it started happening, and I got so angry. I was like, I'll never buy a PlayStation again, because I don't. Gotcha. This is ridiculous. This shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't have allowed the. It was a real petty, vindictive thing. And so I got an Xbox, loved it, and then I saw Uncharted, and I was just like, man, this looks like Indiana Jones in a video game, but better. And I tried it out at a buddy's house, and I was just like, all right. Well, I sold my 360 and bought a PlayStation 3.
Wow.
And picked up Uncharted. And then I was there forever until I bought an Xbox again for the first time this year.
Gotcha. So you're on like the one or the Series S or X?
Yeah, I'm on the Series S, the one that's digital only, just because.
Gotcha.
Just because. I love physical media, like but I got the digital only.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was feeling the same way. I got the Series S as well. It was my first Xbox in a really long time. Same as you. So, okay. So you said that you jumped ships after seeing Uncharted 1 or Uncharted 2. I got to know.
Uncharted 1.
Okay, yeah. Right,
it was a little while into Uncharted 1. I think Uncharted 2 was close to coming out by the time that I jumped over. But yeah, it was the first one. And man, that is. I didn't get to play the most recent kind of spin-off they did after 4. I missed that one, unfortunately. But those 4 games, that is the most perfect franchise I've ever played in a video game, because all 4 of them are excellent.
So Uncharted is definitely one of those franchises for me that I hold in high regard. I think that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess like the time that I played it, same as you, PS3. I think Uncharted 2 is probably my first one. I don't really remember Uncharted 1. But yeah, just going through that, and it's Sully, and you got Nathan Drake is such an awesome protagonist. I really fell in love with those games as well. Out of the Uncharted franchise, which one would you say is your favorite?
Oh gosh, that one's hard. Oh, I think gameplay in 4 is probably the best. Just because they had all of the innovations from the previous 3, so gameplay wins in 4. But I think the story in 2 or 3, gosh, I don't know. I think the story in 3 is probably my favorite. So I think PlayStation 3, plus it's got PlayStation 3. Uncharted 3 has also got my favorite intro to any of the games with the bar fight.
Yep.
And so I think, but then again, you got the train scene in Uncharted 2, the opening.
It's tough, dude. They all have just the craziest moments, right? Yeah.
3, I think, had the best villain. I liked Marlowe as a villain, so I would say 3. I think everything was kind of firing all cylinders, and then 4 was not a step down by any means, but there's something nostalgic about 3, and maybe with time 4 will take over it for me. But 3 was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so Uncharted 3, that was like one of those games that, so I would always ask my mom, I got nothing going on at school tomorrow, right? Like, can I just stay home and play the video game or whatever? For the longest time, it was the Call of Duty games. I was like, one of those squeaker kids just playing Call of Duty, probably not supposed to. But Uncharted 3 was the first single player game where I asked to stay home. So, yeah, I just remember playing the whole game in one sitting. It's the best day ever. 3 definitely holds a special place in my heart. I think that's probably my favorite. But I gotta say, man, you gotta get on that spinoff, dude. It's not that long, and it's
I know.
It's I gotta vibe and everything.
Yeah, I gotta play that one. It looked great, and I love those characters. Who is it? It's Chloe and Nadine.
Right?
Nadine.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to play that. That was one that I remember it coming out, and I didn't have time to play it, and I was like, I'll get back to it. And then it's like, I'll get back. It's just like one of these days I will get to it. I gotta play it, because it's not a long campaign. It's like 4 or 5 hours or something like that. It's really short, isn't it?
It's less than 10 for sure. Yeah, it's definitely less than 10. But it really proved to me that I didn't know how well the Uncharted formula could work without Drake, without Sully. And they kind of proved to me, no, this is a formula that Naughty Dog can't really do any wrong. I mean, you got just look at their track record, right? So going into it, I probably should have trusted them a little more. But yeah, I just came away from the spinoff being like super surprised. I kind of want, that to be like a new trilogy. I think it was that great. I definitely think they could do more with that. But
well, and they left the door open at the end of 4 with Sam and Sully going off to have an adventure. So I think there's a possibility for them to bring it back, and I do think it's one that can survive without Drake, even though he is such a great character.
Right.
But the gameplay and the style of it, and just the history of it, everything about it, it's easy to. I think they can succeed even without that main character.
So let me ask you. So earlier you mentioned Assassin's Creed, at least the first couple being a franchise that you really love, and then you mentioned Uncharted. So I'm just curious, like, is there like a historical like aspect that kind of do you like the historical aspect to these games? Is that kind of what draws you in, or it just so happens that both kind of focus on history?
Oh yeah, it's definitely what drew me in. I'm a big history buff. I mentioned Indiana Jones. That was, as a kid, I always loved that trilogy, and I talked about I love the last two as well. I don't care. Come at me. And Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was fun, but I love history. It's a lot of fun to see these things, and especially in the way that they do it with Assassin's Creed. It is the kind of mystical and sci-fi retelling of history where you're seeing new things. With Uncharted, it's the action adventure. Here are some little things in the past, but then also fictionalized accounts of these things. And so they came together in this wonderful little grouping of two separate sides and two different ways of looking at history. The fantastical and the also a little fantastical, but a little more rooted in actual history and real world ideals and physics and physics in an Uncharted game. But it was definitely the history, to go back to your original question, that drew me to both of those games. Yeah, and that's why I like awesome. The first. Yeah. That's why I like the first 3 Assassin's Creed so much, because I actually, unlike a lot of other people, I love the Desmond storyline. I love the storyline in the present where he's learning about what happened in the past.
Gotcha, yeah.
And you got more of what was going on with the Animus. You got more of what was going on with the pieces of Eden and all of that. And that really intrigued me. And that was one of the reasons why I loved that franchise. And so when they stepped away from that after 3, it's one of the reasons why I kind of backed off of it. And so anytime that you can get into a fun action platformer while also looking at these different places in history and these different events in history, I'm going to be there. It's just too cool for me not to dive into it.
Yeah, man. I love that. I'm a big fan of history as well. And definitely, I don't know why, but I never put it together like you just did, where one's kind of the more fantastical, one's kind of the more grounded. They are kind of like two sides of a coin, honestly. Is there any like other game franchises that you want to do like a quick shout out to?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you know what? I don't think I put this on when you were asking on the questions of Marvel Ultimate Alliance and X-Men Legends 1 and 2. I've been going hard on like remembering these things. We've been talking about, me and the co-host on our show. We've been talking. He just bought the Ultimate Alliance 1 on his Xbox 360 that he still got, and we're talking about getting together and playing it. And like my wife and I just finally started Ultimate Alliance 3 because I bought it like 2 years ago and just never got past the first like half of like part of the game. And that is a franchise that has changed and evolved, and will always, no matter which version I'm playing, whether it's the first X-Men Legends or all the way up to Ultimate Alliance 3, I will always love that franchise, no matter who's developing it, no matter what the story is. There's something about getting to play in that sandbox with characters that I love, and a storyline, just getting to fight those villains, getting to go to these different places. I mean, my God, in Ultimate Alliance, you get to fight Galactus as the Silver Surfer. It's such a great game. So yeah, that one is the other one.
Dude, Ultimate Alliance, man, I have so many fond memories of two specifically. That was on PS2, right? Or maybe they both were. And I've been wondering for the longest time, like, why has this franchise been so dormant? I mean, you look at what's going on in the MCU, right? You would think that it's prime for an Ultimate Alliance. So I was really pumped when they announced 3.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that it's like a Switch exclusive, like
Yeah,
Nintendo published it or whatever.
that was a bit of a bummer that it's a Switch exclusive. Even though I love my Switch, but my hands don't hold a Switch controller well. I had to go and buy like the classic controllers, a little bigger,
Right,
and
right.
that works out. But
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm with you though. Ultimate Alliance, there's something about it. It's
mhm.
just I don't even really care about what's going on in the story, honestly. Just like you said, just being in that world and swapping out your roster and stuff like that is always super cool.
When I played
Yeah.
all of them, or Legends 2, Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, I played that with the same group of people. So we played all
Gotcha.
4 of those together. And so we've got all these great memories of one time where the game glitched out and one of our guys just ran off of a bridge because the bridge disappeared. And we still laugh about that. That was almost 20 years ago. We still laugh about that. And it just so many great memories of playing those games that I'm really looking forward to going and replaying the first one again.
Nice, man. I wish you guys the best of luck playing. Sometimes going back to, we remember those older games a little more fondly than they
Yeah.
maybe should be remembered. But I bet you Ultimate Alliance probably holds up.
I hope so. I really do. I think it will, just because we'll be having, it's going to be the same group of guys playing it again, so it works out.
Right on. Yep.
So
Yep.
we can relive some of those memories, and it'll still be a lot of fun, even if the graphics
Listen,
are terrible. So
yeah, dude. Listen, I mean, we're talking memories, man. You got any more memories that close? Maybe like I don't know, like three. Let's get maybe 3 video game memories to close us out here. Not to put you on the
oh
spot.
my gosh, 3 video game memories to close us out.
Or maybe we could jumpstart it, right? So the one
Okay.
you mentioned was playing Rock Band, right? So you were playing.
Oh God.
Yeah, dude. I love that story.
Okay.
I was reading it. I was laughing out loud, like just reading your response.
So this same group of people that play Ultimate Alliance together, we were playing Rock Band one night.
Let me ask you this question real quick. So who are these guys? Are these like college roommates or something like that?
No, these are. I used to work at the local theater here in town, and so it's just this group of guys that we all met at the theater working there,
Gotcha,
and we got real close. And as a matter of fact, it's for anybody that watches Paperweight Entertainment, it's Colonel Bob and Ian are the two that we play the most with. We kind of swap out the fourth. And we were at my friend Bob's apartment, and it's a townhouse, so it's like a 2-story townhouse apartment. And we were down on the main floor, and his roommate was on the top floor asleep because he worked, like, I don't remember what shift he worked. He worked the opposite shift of whatever we were playing this game. And so he's trying to sleep to get ready for work. And so we're being quiet, and we're really concerned about the drums because, the drums, you're banging on those like rubber pads. It's loud. And
It's
so
like
we
the loudest
wrapped
thing in the world.
yeah, so we wrapped the drumsticks with like napkins and rubber bands to make it quieter, but you could still play it. And I was on the vocals because I always was the one that was singing. And so we're being quiet, as much as we can. And, the time comes for his roommate to get up and go to work. And he comes down. We're like, oh, Jason, I'm so sorry. I hope we didn't keep you up. We were trying to keep the drums quiet. Did the drums keep you up? And he said, no, I didn't hear the drums at all. The only thing I heard the entire time was Derek's unreasonably loud voice. And so from that point forward, so that was at least 15 years ago. And so yeah, from that point, I have been labeled as unreasonably loud because I was louder than the drum kit in Rock Band while whispering into the microphone.
Right. No, dude, listen. So, I mean, listen, you were probably in the zone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
it's tough you're trying to get you're trying to get like a perfect score, No, I think it's so funny, dude, because every, I want to say, so this would be like episode 5, I think. And maybe like half the guests have talked about Rock Band. So there's just something about Rock Band that
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
It was well, and it really, like, Guitar Hero was fun, but then Rock Band, it really incorporated like a group. You wanted to get a group of people together, and if you have a group of friends that likes to game, then it was perfect. Everybody got their instrument, everybody got to do their thing. And we didn't play Rock Band for long. That's what's funny. Like I think we played that game maybe 4 or 5 times tops. But
Gotcha, yep.
it was a forever memory because of that.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. Just something so nostalgic about like just a closet full of just plastic junk. You know what I mean? We just trade it for different kinds of junk nowadays, I guess. But
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Something about those early Rock Band days. I don't know. So listen, we're at the 30-minute mark, dude. But I'm having so much fun talking to you. Do you got like maybe just one more video game memory, dude? I would love to hear it.
All right, one more video game memory. Let me think here. Oh my gosh.
I mean, you shared
So
many already,
I talked
but
about the one where the buddy where he fell off the bridge. That was hilarious, and
yep, classic.
we gave him so much crap about that, making like, no, there wasn't a bridge there. You just ran off. There was a bridge there before it ran. All right, so
Trying to gaslight him.
I've got another one. So we used to
All
play
right.
Madden a lot, like constantly. Same group of
Gotcha.
guys. We'd get together and we'd play Madden all night long. And the guys Bob, whose house we were at, would always pick the Indianapolis Colts. We live in Indiana. Indianapolis is our local team. He was a big Colts fan. And at the time when we were playing, they had a running back named Edgerrin James. And he was a great running back in real life, but on Madden, he was impossible. You could never stop him. Like, he would juke, he would spin, he was impossible. And so we're sitting there playing, and I'm playing against him, and I can't stop the run. This dude, he ran probably 400 yards on me in one game. It was infuriating. And I'm just getting madder and madder, and I'm holding my controller, and I'm just shaking with rage. And finally, he bursts out for another like 25-yard run before one of my safeties can drag him down. And I just threw my controller on the floor, and I stood up, and I pointed at the screen, and I said, "Edgerrin James is not a god." And then everybody laughed. But yeah, I've got a lot of horrifically like angry rants from all of us on Madden.
Dude, okay. Yeah, I mean, so like it always amazes me like how different the stats can be. I mean, the roster, you got so many people in the roster, but some of them are just have better stats. They're just coded that way.
Yeah, you couldn't stop. I'm telling you, anybody that played Madden in the early 2000s, we're talking like 2004, 2005, somewhere around there, you couldn't stop him. He'd run all over the field. And there was no, doesn't matter if you blitz, doesn't matter if you knew the play, he'd still get around you.
Let me ask you this then. Final question for you, Derek. Was that the only time you've broken a controller?
Have I actually broken? I didn't break his controller that night.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
I threw it down, but I didn't break his controller that night. I have never broken a controller.
Okay, so I'll share mine just because
I've been very. I have thrown many controllers, but I've gotten real lucky, and I've never broken a controller.
Nice, dude. So just because you jump started this memory for me, I'll share it real quick. I remember playing Modern Warfare 2. I don't know if you're into like the Call of Duty games, like shooter FPS type of things, but Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer was like the most unbalanced, broken, like, just the worst game ever to be an online game. And I'm like, I don't know, 11 or something. I'm just going nuts in this game, right? Too much energy or something. I remember hucking my PS3, like the tiny little DualShock, through my closet door, like straight through it. And I'm a skinny guy. I mean, everybody's looking right now. I'm not like the most athletic person. I have no clue how I Hulk smashed that thing through the door, but that was hard to explain to the parents.
Yeah, I bet. Like, I will tell a story on my brother-in-law, because he is notorious for breaking this is my wife's brother. He is notorious for breaking controllers, like constantly.
Nice. Yeah.
Like every console he's ever owned, he's broken at least 5 controllers. And what he'll do is he will throw it as hard as he can on the ground because he gets mad. And I've watched him do it. It will bounce off the ground, hit the ceiling. It won't be broken enough for him, and he will pick it up and physically like just twist it until it snaps. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there like, you got to buy a new one, dummy. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, especially nowadays, your controllers are going for like $70.
Yeah, they're so expensive. That's one of the reasons why I'm always so excited. I'm just like, oh, thank God I didn't break it. Oh, thank God I didn't want to have to buy a new one of those. But yeah, I've come very close to breaking them, but I've got real lucky.
Nice, man. Well, listen, Derek, I had so much fun chatting with you, dude, about classic video game stuff. But I wanted to give you the platform as we're closing out here. What do you got going on? How can people find you online? And like, do you got any like projects in the works or anything you want to give an extra spotlight to?
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. This has been an absolute blast. I could talk about this stuff for hours. So if you want to find me anywhere, it's Paperweight Entertainment. Just search Paperweight Entertainment anywhere. We're on you can find the podcast on YouTube and on any audio platform that you want to look for. We're also on TikTok, Instagram, pretty much every social media but Reddit. We're even on Threads now, if you're on Threads. I don't know how to use it because I'm too old for that, but we're there. Go find us. Also, plug our merch store. I know that you guys are big into merch. We've got there's a link in our bio for anywhere that you go. And for the month of July, we've got a special logo. It's a version of our logo. I don't have a picture of it, or I would show you, but it's a Secret Invasion inspired logo with a scroll head instead of the regular Mandalorian helmet that you'd find on our logo. So that is in our merch store until the end of July. So if you're interested in that, go and check it out. And we appreciate any support.
Yeah, man, that sounds actually really cool. You mentioned the color break merch. We're trying to do like different variants and stuff like that. So that's really cool. I think that's awesome. Definitely have to check that out. And listen, guys, you can check out Paperweight Entertainment and all their links in the description down below. But thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Memory Card, Nerd Initiatives, Retro and Nostalgia Video Game Conversation Show. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one.